like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it must be a duck. And if it looks like a sugar cookie and it tastes like a sugar cookie, it must be a sugar cookie, right? Not so fast. Hi, I'm Carolyn from All Day I Dream About Food, and today we're making sugar-free keto sugar cookies. So our first step is to whisk together our dry ingredients. In this bowl, I have 2 1/4 cups of finely ground almond flour. And I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. This helps give the cookies a little more structure. You won't taste the coconut. And we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon salt. You want to break up any clumps in the almond flour and the coconut flour. The next step is to beat our butter with our sweetener. So I have here 6 tablespoons of very well softened butter, and I'm adding 1/2 cup of granular swerve sweetener. For these cookies to crisp up properly, you really need an erythritol-based sweetener. So don't try to use allulose or Boca Sweet unless you want cakey, soft cookies. And we'll beat those together. Then we're going to beat in 1 room temperature egg. Now, if you're like me and you sometimes forget to take your eggs out on time, you can always put them in a bowl of warm water for about 10 minutes. So that's what I've done here. We'll just break our egg and beat it in. And finally, we're going to beat in 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. At this point, your mixture should be nice and creamy and smooth, and that's when you can add the dry ingredients. And you can just dump them all in at once. It's absolutely fine that way. And we'll beat our mixture again until the dough really comes together and clings together. So the consistency of your dough should be like soft cookie dough. It should be quite soft to the touch, but it shouldn't stick to your hands. So you should be able to sort of roll it in a ball and take your hand away and nothing's sticking to it. Now, as with conventional sugar cookies, you want to prepare your work surface before you roll out the dough. So I have a nice big silicone mat here. I really prefer this over parchment paper because it doesn't slide around. And I'm going to take some coconut flour and just sprinkle it over nicely and spread it around. It's also much easier to work with only half of the dough at a time when you're rolling it out. So I'm going to eyeball about half the dough, make a nice ball of it, and pat it into a nice disc. Then I want to cover it with either parchment or waxed paper. And we're going to roll it out to about 1/3 inch thick. The most important thing is that you do it as evenly as possible. And once you've got it all nicely rolled out, just peel off your parchment paper and you can start cutting it out. Now, I normally make these sugar cookies around Christmas, so I have a bunch of holiday cookie cutters, but obviously you're not limited to that. You can do any kind of fun shape you want. You could do a sunflower. You could do shamrocks for St. Patty's Day. You could do pumpkins. You could do Easter cookies, whatever you want. I definitely recommend metal cookie cutters. They just have a sharper edge and they cut through the dough a little more easily. So you just push them down, and I like to put them all close together so that I save as much dough as possible and cut out as many shapes before I start lifting them out. Now, sometimes the cookies like to come up and out with the cookie cutters, which is totally fine. And you can just gently push them out and set them on your baking sheet. Sometimes they don't like to come up with the cookie cutters, and that's fine too. So you can just take apart the extra dough and scoop it under your cookie and lift it off and put it on your tray. So the great part about this dough is that you can re-roll the scraps as much as you want. So if you broke any cookies or any of the little extra pieces that you took off, you can just gather them all up together again and roll them nicely and start all over again. Okay, once you have rolled your scraps as many times as you can and cut out as many cookies as you can, you want to make sure to put them on a baking sheet that's either lined with a silicone mat or with parchment paper. Now you're not quite ready to get baking yet. You want to put them in the freezer for about 30 minutes so that they firm up nicely before baking. That way they don't spread too much or puff up too much. Okay, 30 minutes is up and our cookies are ready for the oven. They go in at 325 for 12 to 14 minutes. You want them to be just firm to the touch and light golden brown around the edges. Okay guys, our cookies are done and I have let them cool completely on the pan. Now comes the fun part, decorating. Now you can decorate these cookies any way you want and use your favorite frosting. But today I'm going to show you how to make some keto royal icing. Royal icing is so great on sugar cookies because it hardens really nicely and you can color it any way you want. Now for my royal icing, I like to use 2 different sweeteners. I use equal amounts of powdered swerve and powdered Boca Sweet. The swerve helps it harden nicely and the Boca Sweet keeps it shiny and glossy. Now today I'm only going to make half a batch of the royal icing because I'm saving most of my cookies for decorating around the holidays. But I have here a 1/4 cup of powdered swerve and a 1/4 cup of powdered Boca Sweet. Then I'm going to add half a tablespoon of egg white powder. This also helps firm the frosting. Now you're going to add some water a little at a time until you get the right consistency that you want. And then you're going to stir it in and see how thick your mixture is. Just add a little more until you're getting to the right consistency. And if at any time it's too thick or too thin, you can simply add a little more sweetener or a little more water. Okay, that's looking good. It's like a thick paste. And now we can get decorating. Now, if you want to color some of your frosting, you can just put it in another bowl and add a little natural food coloring. I'm going to try out these natural food colors from Watkins. So I have their red. Often these natural food colors, they end up more pink than red, but let's see what we can do. We're getting a bright fuchsia at the moment. Okay, that's the best we can do for now. And let's get decorating. I'm going to warn you that I am not a very good cookie decorator. My hands just aren't steady enough. But I like to take little baggies and cut off the very tip and put in some of my royal icing. We'll start with the white, and then you can just squeeze it right out of the tip of your baggie. And you just want to go all the way around if you want to make an outline. And again, my hands are not the steadiest at this, but I have a lot of fun with it. And these cookies are so great. My kids love decorating these at Christmas. Now I've got some nice outlines, and I'm going to show you how to fill in the center. Now to fill in the center with some royal icing needs to be a little thinner. You still don't want it too gloppy, but you can add a tiny bit more water and stir that in. And then you can either pipe it on or just take some tiny little spoon and add little bits of it all inside of your outline. You want to get enough of it on there. You can kind of spread it around. It's okay if there's some gaps, because then you're going to take a toothpick and just kind of push your frosting into all the extra gaps. So this one is all nicely filled in. It's looking pretty good. And now you can do some colors on it. You can do some other royal icing, or you can get a little fancy and grab some sprinkles and put those on too. I've got these sugar-free sprinkles from the Sprinkle Company. That's on Etsy. I do know Good D's make some of them too. And you can just do whatever you want. I'm going to take some of this sanding sugar, which is from the Sprinkle Company, and just sprinkle it right onto my holiday star. Ooh, that's looking really nice. You want to make sure to put the sprinkles on while your royal icing is still wet. And once you are done, you can put all your cookies in the fridge to set, or you can just leave them out overnight. Now, one of the great parts about this recipe is that the unfrosted cookies can be frozen for up to 3 months, so you can get a jump on your holiday baking. I recommend putting them in a covered container between sheets of waxed paper. And there we have it, cute little keto sugar cookies that are great for any holiday. They're so much fun to decorate, and they're actually pretty tasty too. For this sugar-free keto cookie recipe and so many more, check out alldayidreamaboutfood.com.